In this video, I'm going to be talking about how to hit your macronutrient goals without using protein powder. If you're new here, my name is McCord, and over the last 5 years, I've gained about 50 pounds of muscle. I am an ectomorph, or what's called a hard gainer. I struggle to put on muscle mass, and I created this YouTube channel to talk about fitness, how to gain weight, how to put on mass, and how to bodybuild naturally. So if you've ever been curious about how to hit your macronutrient goals without using protein powder, whether that's because you think protein powder has too much sugar in it, or you've maybe read the articles about a potential exposure to heavy metals that are involved in the processing of protein powders. Whatever your goal may be to avoid protein powder, I am always going to be a proponent that eating real food or a real meal is going to do you much more than drinking a protein powder supplement. I have distinct memories of watching Rich Piana actually blending up entire meals instead of using a protein powder supplement. He would just throw chicken and spinach and rice into a blender. And to me, that was kind of disgusting at the time, but I understand what he was doing because the convenience of drinking the protein is there, but you're actually getting the macronutrients and the fiber of a real meal. So the trick to eating enough protein without using protein powder is to train your metabolism. So what I mean by this is basically eating more food slowly over time. Now, what's gonna be really important in order for you to accomplish your goals here is to understand how to count your macronutrients. It's kind of tedious sometimes, but using a macronutrient calculator can be really helpful, especially if you're a beginner. But it's so important to understand how to count your macronutrients, especially when you're starting out, just so that you know what it's actually gonna take for you to be in a caloric surplus or for you to maintain your muscle mass. So this is when it becomes important to understand that nothing is immediate and nothing is fast in this world of fitness, especially if you're going to do things naturally. You know, the allure of protein powders and most liquid protein is that you can drink this stuff and that it's a fast, easy way to get down protein. But like everything in life, things that are easy to attain generally do not have the reward of things that are difficult to attain. The nutritional value of something like a juicy top sirloin or a fresh fillet of salmon are far beyond anything you're gonna get at the bottom of that tub. So we know we need to be eating real food. What about practical advice on how to get in more protein without using protein powders? I'm gonna list out a few calorie-dense foods for you, and hopefully these help you get an understanding of how it would be possible to hit your goals. First is really any kind of pasta, but I prefer an egg pasta. It's so easy to add in other kinds of protein like ground beef or salmon into a pasta dish. Total macronutrient counts are just off the charts with most any kind of pasta. Next would be peanut butter, oil, or butter altogether, just these kind of fat-dense foods. You don't want to forget about your fats when it comes to bulking or putting on mass or hitting your macronutrient goals. In particular, I'm thinking about oatmeal and adding in peanut butter and maybe cutting some bananas on top. I've prepped a couple bowls of oatmeal that were over 1,000 calories. It's so easy to do. You just microwave up the oatmeal, throw in the peanut butter, cut on some fruit, and you're already good to go. Another staple for Hannah and I recently has been to make grilled cheese sandwiches, and I know that sounds kind of unhealthy, but what I do is I take bread and I toast it with cheese, and I'll add ham, and you can add 4 to 8 slices of ham. You're already at 20 grams of protein. And then on top of that, I'll add an egg. Tastes absolutely amazing, and you're looking at 35 to 40 grams of protein in a grilled cheese sandwich. And then last but not least would be a hamburger. Hamburgers are always a staple for me, whether I'm dedicated to getting a ton of calories in or not. The buns can be incredibly caloric, but 2 Angus beef patties together, if you do a double burger, are in the 60-gram range as far as protein goes. I would not shy away from eating a burger. Just remember that it's always cleaner to go get a certified Angus patty and cook it up yourself than it is to go to somewhere like McDonald's. The additives and the amount of things that they have in those burgers, it's just not worth messing around with. And remember, once you actually do get all of the macros in through food, you'll realize that there's this whole other window of using protein powder or protein supplements in order to hit even higher goals. So don't forget that you can use protein powder. Just remember that it is a supplement and that whole foods are always gonna be a better source of protein for you as far as its total absorbability and how helpful it is in actually building muscle mass. In this fit tip, I'm thinking about the concept of pushing past failure. Greg Plitt actually used to have this concept when he was working out with a workout partner. He would do +4, which basically means once you reach your total ability as far as how many reps you can push, you have your spotter help you get 4 more. And that would be a great example of pushing past failure. There are some great ways to push past failure though without a spotter, and it's because we work out in commercial gyms now where we have access to equipment where there's all of these different weight stacks, and it's so easy to change the amount of resistance on each particular exercise. Once you reach what you would consider failure, you can simply drop the weight and continue continue the exercise, and this would be considered a drop set. This is a great way to push past failure and to really push yourself. But it is important to distinguish between failure with poor form and failure with good form. There's no time in bodybuilding when it is okay to sacrifice your form. It's kind of hard to understand the concept of failure when your form is still perfect, right? You need to understand what your rate of perceived exertion is, or your RPE. This is a really important concept to start to understand. So rate of perceived exertion is a concept where you're basically learning to understand how hard you're pushing yourself. And it's on a scale of 1 to 10, and basically you just need to be able to rate how much effort you think you were just putting in on any particular exercise. So if your rate of perceived exertion is a 10 out of 10 on set number 4 out of 4, that would be considered failure. Even if you did maybe have 1 or 2 more reps in the tank that would have sacrificed your form, I think it counts as failure if your rate of perceived exertion was a 10 and your form was still perfect. Conceptually, what this looks like is, say you were shooting for 14 reps, you reached 13 or 12 with really good form and your perceived exertion is like a 9 or a 10, it's time to drop the weight. So this is what I'm saying when you're pushing past failure. You get to a point where you feel like it's the last rep, stop the exercise real quick, move that pin and drop the weight slightly, and start up again and maybe push for 2 or 3 more reps. That is a perfect way to push past failure when you don't have a spotter and when you're on your own in the gym. You know, it's these kind of concepts that are gonna lead to growth. I guarantee it. You really have to push yourself outside of your comfort zone if you want to see yourself grow. So this is worth figuring out. Understanding what failure is for you is going to be such an important concept for you to start to grow or see new growth if you've hit a plateau. Thanks so much for watching the video. If you like this kind of content, please hit that like button. It helps to spread these videos to other people. I post videos every Friday, and I will see you guys next week.